Hello everyone and welcome to the final day of JoJomas. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all. Hopefully you all have been having a wonderful holiday so far and really been enjoying JoJomas this year. So here we are on day 8, the final day, where we should be talking about the main antagonist of part 8, JoJolion. But we don't have a main antagonist yet. So I did mention this at the end of the Valentine and Diablo video, what we'll be doing for today. So pretty much, I'll be going over who I think is going to be main villain and going over all of the possible candidates for that spot. So here we are on Christmas for a JoJolion discussion. Doesn't get much better than this, guys. So here we are, December 2017 on chapter 72 of JoJolion, with still not a set-in-stone main villain revealed yet, but some possible candidates. And don't worry guys, JoJolion's 72 chapter review will be coming out. I just didn't want to interrupt JoJolion, so I was going to wait until after. And as well as JoJolion is going to be on hiatus for January, so we're not getting a chapter next month, which kind of sucks. But anyways, that's why the chapter review has been prolonged. I didn't want it to be like JoJomas day 1, 2, 3, JoJolion chapter review, and then 4, 5, 6. OCD. I wanted these to all look good and all be right next to each other on my channel. So a couple days or the day after Christmas, tomorrow, expect the JoJolion review to be coming out. So here we are, 72 chapters into JoJolion, at the end of 2017 going into 2018, and we have no idea who the main villain's going to be. Well, we have some ideas. We've had some talks between Mamazuku, and there's been some menacing characters shown up that people have theorized to be main villain, but really in every single part we could tell. If we were reading part 5 while it was ongoing, we would know Diablo, we would know the mob boss is the main villain. Same with part 7, if we were reading that ongoing, we would know at probably like volume 5, 6, or 7 that Funny Valentine was going to be the main villain. So part 8 is really different, as we can't really tell. In every other part, all the villains' motives have been pretty straightforward and laid out from nearly the beginning of the part. But here we are, and from what we know, there is like no main villain. From what the characters in the story have told us who the enemy is, there's no good candidate right now, which is making me fear that the main antagonist for JoJolion won't be very good. Because if it's a character that has not yet been introduced to the part, if some new character like the King of the Rock Humans gets introduced this late into the part, that would feel so last minute, and it would just be unlike any other part before. No foreshadowing, anything like that, and I'm kind of worried for JoJolion. So let's talk about who I personally think is going to be the main villain of JoJolion, and how maybe she will be able to work her way into the story and really solidify that role of main villain. So let's go ahead and talk about Kato Higashikata. Alright, so Kato Higashikata, why do I think she's going to be main villain? Why don't I think Jobin's going to be the main villain? So let's talk about this. Really early in JoJolion, say around chapter 50 or so, maybe in the 40s, it was a viable theory that Jobin was going to be the main antagonist. He had the design for an antagonist, he seemed to have the mysterious past behind him as an antagonist, but it's kind of foolish at this point in the series to think that Jobin is going to be the main antagonist. It's outright ridiculous to think that. In the current arc right now, we see Jobin almost taking on the role of a protagonist. In the latest chapter with the developments with Ozone Baby attacking Tsurugi and his pet, it looks like Jobin is going to fulfill a protagonist role in this upcoming arc and sort of, fight against rock humans. So that's interesting to see where the story is going with Jobin right now. But, pretty much after Blue Hawaii, it was pretty obvious Jobin is not going to be the main villain. He's similar to just like a gopher, similar to how Dolomite was throughout the story. So no, Jobin's not going to be main villain. He might have a possible role. He might have a possible, shared motive with the main villain. But as of right now, I maybe would have believed Jobin was main villain 7, 12 months ago. But as of right now, I don't think that is possible at all, the scene where his character's gone. So the most viable person, I think, to be the antagonist is Kato Higashikata. So what do we know about Kato so far? Well, we had a pretty interesting flashback chapter with her and Jobin, and how she saved Jobin from the rock disease without sacrificing herself or anyone within her family, how she used the bully that was picking on Jobin and sort of ruining his life. And what we got from that chapter is that Kato Higashikata does not want her life to be decided by others, or rather she does not want her life to be decided by a man, being Norisuke. And after having been recently released from prison, She pretty much, her motive, what we know right now, is that she wants to take down Norisuke Higashikata. We talked about this a lot in the Sad Truth of King Nothing video, so if you guys want more on what she might do to take down Norisuke, you guys can check that out if you haven't already. But we know that Kato wants to bring down Norisuke Higashikata, or at least take what is rightfully hers. She does own part of the house, and all the kids are still her children, so she deserves at least something, especially because she went to jail because she was saving Jobin. Although that's sort of in a moral gray area, did she do the right thing killing that kid? So it's up for you guys to decide, and I'm kind of getting Funny Valentine vibes from her as well. Dude, it would be so crazy. I've talked about this with other people, and I'm sure I mentioned it on stream or in a video before that. Based on what we saw with Kato's stand so far, everyone compares it to D4C. Everyone says, oh yeah, it's kind of like D4C, like turning something over, something emerges, kind of like that. It's pretty much just pocket dimensions bound to a deck of cards that she can store things in with an unknown space, unknown amount of matter and mass that she can store in there. But it would be so fucking cool if it was revealed that Kato's maiden name is Valentine. It would just be mind-blowingly so perfect that, in contrast to the the Brandos are in the alternate universe, but now, like, the main villains that we're going to be going up against recurring are the Valentines. It would just be so damn interesting, but I don't think that would provide anything to the story. It would just be a cool callback to Funny Valentine's lineage. That would just be awesome. I really hope Kato's maiden name is Valentine or Brando or something, because we know bloodlines are important in JoJo. So it'd be interesting to see her have some sort of a significant family outside of the Higashikatas. But anyways, people have been theorizing that because of her stand similar to D4C, maybe she's a Valentine. Probably not, but she does have similarities to him with sort of the things that she does being in a moral gray area. Is she doing the right thing? We talked about Funny Valentine all yesterday, so those are just a few similarities they have. So Kato Higashikata's main motive right now is to bring down Norisuke and take what is rightfully hers, as well as no longer let her life be controlled by a man. But there are some suspicions to her that are involved with rock humans. As we know, back in the flashback with Kira Yoshikage, there were rock humans being delivered to the Higashikata estate, and the only person that could have signed off for that would have been Kato Higashikata or Jobin. So there's two of those right there. I don't know if it was exactly disclosed that it was signed by Kato or Jobin sent the rock humans to the estate, but I do know that Norisuke was not involved in this and didn't know what was going on. So that's possibly some of the workings Kato could have been doing from within prison and controlling some of the rock humans. As we saw, one thing to take note of as well is that when she leaves prison, she had in possession a modern day cell phone. And she was put in prison before those cell phones were manufactured or even made. So that was a modern day technology that she had inside of prison. So that could be another use of her ability, being able to access things from long distances, but that was one minor detail to keep in mind. So Kato has some sort of a connection to rock humans, and especially, I hate making this video right now, right when a new chapter gets introduced, and there's some things in it that are alluding to maybe possible connections with Kato, because we see Jobin at a sports game, and in the stadium, we see the Aphex brothers, we see Dubi User, and we also see Yotsuyu sort of confront Jobin and say, hey, Jobin, and that's sort of the introduction to how they were all introduced to each other. But it's undisclosed if they just met out of coincidence, or maybe it was Kato that sent Yotsuyu to that stadium to sort of hook up with Jobin and start making all of their connections. So we don't even know what Jobin knows. We don't know if Jobin is working with Kato right now, so just a lot of unanswered questions, and it's confusing because it's so hard to predict what happens in JoJo, so it's almost sort of futile trying to predict these things, but I'll try the best I can. And another thing, talking about what would Jobin's motive be if he was going to be main antagonist. So Kato wants what's rightfully hers and wants to bring down Norisuke for putting her in prison as she believes, and Jobin's goal that has been repeated many times by him is that he wants the Higashikata fruit business to prosper. He wants good things to happen for that business. That's why he got involved with the Rokakaka trade, mostly because it makes a shitload of money. Rokakakas are extremely expensive, and we're sort of seeing right now how that all started with him meeting Yotsuyu. And again in this chapter, we saw Jobin talk to Norisuke about how they need to start introducing fruits that are cheap to manufacture but are also tasty. So pretty much lower quality fruits to keep the power and keep a financially stable and profiting business. And Norisuke was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not cheaping out. We're not getting cheap fruits. We're sticking with what we have. We're sticking with quality. and that sort of, you know, tilted Jobin sort of against Narisuke, saying like he's you know, he's behind on the times. He doesn't know what this company needs to prosper, when sort of Jobin's in the wrong here. So it's funny talking about this, like all the other conflicts of JoJo before, like Funny Valentine, corpse parts wanting to take over the world, like Diavolo, Kira, serial killer, Dio, immortal vampire, and now we're in part 8, and it's like, well, this guy really didn't like what was going on with the fruit parlor, so he started talking to some rock humans, and this girl went to prison, and she wants what's rightfully hers. It's just, everything seems like it's taken a step back, and we're not so large scale. But getting on to the rock humans now, so we have Kato and Jobin's objective, which we pretty much know what they are, and we know their possible connections right now. But there's been some really interesting dialogue once Mamazuku Ride, the plant appraiser, was introduced to the series. And go back in the I don't know exactly what chapter it was, but it was right before or during the Urban Gorilla and Do-Re-Mi Fasolati Do arc, when Mamazuku flat out stated that he doesn't know exactly who the enemy is, but whoever the enemy is, this was like Araki just flat out telling us who the main antagonist is. They are doctors, they are scientists, they are high members of society, but no matter who they are them and the rock humans. Do you guys remember that? I'm sure you do. It was a very powerful panel, and it was pretty much just telling us who the villains are. So right now, possible candidates are Jobin and Kato. Neither of them are doctors, neither of them are scientists, neither of them are rock humans. But then we have Mamazuku on the other hand telling us that this is who the main villain is. But it doesn't make any sense because we don't have like a pre-established character that's been seen throughout the series that is a scientist, that is a rock human. I mean, unless we want to get into crazy theorizing that Holly Joestar Kira is going to be the main villain or something stupid like that. But it's all over the place. But I can't go crazy here, and I can't just think of crazy things that could happen. You need to look at it realistically, and you need to look at the past parts and the trend in that. And I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to be written into the story, but I am almost sure, I am certain that the main villain of JoJolion is going to be Kato Higashikata. Reasons being, she was introduced midway through the series, and when she was introduced, it was extremely menacing and gave off an extremely villainous aura. That entire chapter, when she showed up, she was just sitting on the couch, and Narisuke just didn't even know, like this intruder that just entered. She's familiar, but still a stranger, and Narisuke was scared. His face went pale when he saw her, and she was like, I'm back. And it was just a really weird encounter, and just the look in her eyes and the way Araki draws her eyes. I know that's a bit far out, but just that chapter when she was introduced midway through the season, midway through the part, it's like right around the time we would be introduced to any other villain, like similar to how Diavolo was introduced midway through the part, and like Kira Yoshikage. And you gotta take into consideration that this is an alternate universe of part 4. There's so many similarities between part 4 and 8, so looking at part 4 will tell us a lot about how maybe part 8 will unfold. And she's introduced in a similar length to when Kira Yoshikage is introduced. That's just another connection. And one of the biggest things holding me, or keeping me in the mindset that she's going to be main villain, is that we saw a glimpse of her stand and the name was never revealed. The stand name, we don't know. And that happens a lot in JoJo, for us to see a glimpse of something or see something but not exactly know the names of it. So for that reason being, that Kato Higashikata has been the only stand user that showed her stand, and it's been, 20 to 30 chapters later? Maybe even longer than that. It's almost been like 40 chapters, and we still do not know what her stand is called. That's worrying me, and just the way she was introduced to the story fits in line with all of the other main villains in the series before. She is the only possible candidate. The only one. There's no one else it could possibly be. So just thinking about this logically, looking how past parts of JoJo have unfolded, and how Kato Higashikata's character has been written into the story and revealed in a menacing way, having a somewhat clear objective revealed, and having her stand name unknown, as well as the ability unknown, not even a description, leads me to believe that she has to be the main villain of this part. It's just unclear how she is going to be written and what her true objective is. So that's what we got for part 8, guys. I think we're in store for our first female villain. I don't see this going any other way, unless JoJolion plans on being 150 chapters and the main villain is not introduced yet. That's the only possible way I could see this main villain not being Kato Higashikata. Only if JoJolion is like double to triple the length of all of the other parts. JoJolion should be wrapping up here in you know, in line with all the other parts, even in line with Steel Ball Run. Even if JoJolion is going to be as long as Steel Ball Run, 24 volumes, which I highly doubt it will. I feel like Steel Ball Run was really special, and it had a sort of extended ending to sort of reinforce the concept of fate with the Johnny Joestar and with the Joestar and Brandel rivalry. Having, after the Funny Valentine fight, we had another like 2 volumes to end the Steel Ball Run race and everything. And the Steel Ball Run race was just an epic. It was an insane ending. It was probably for me it was the climax of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in general. And I don't think JoJolion will be able to match that level of excitement or that level of intensity just based on how, like, what the part is about. So I don't think JoJolion is going to be longer than Steel Ball Run. It might be just as long, but there's no way we can have an unknown character introduced. There's no way we can have another rock human introduced that's just, you know, a stereotypical villain that wants to use their Okakaka for technology and take it over. That wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't feel like a alternate universe JoJo part that we're in right now. It would just it would be bad, honestly. I just wouldn't like that, and I don't think you guys would either. So I think that's going to do it for the final day of JoJomas and this JoJolion discussion on who I think is going to be the final villain of the part. There's a lot of discussion to be had here, so please comment down below if you guys are up to date on JoJolion and have your own personal theories that can sort of contrast what I think with Kato Higashikata being the main villain of this part. I'd love to hear it, guys. You know, don't get too crazy because you still got to think realistically in the series. Araki likes to do things formatically. You know, the way that all the other parts, they're relatively the same length, they have a relatively similar format, stand user of the week, main villain introduced part way, or introduced, you know, sprinkled throughout, and then final fight at the end. So it's going to be similar to other parts of JoJo, and the only way I can see it for the 1000th time ending is with Kato Higashikata as the main villain. So that's it, guys. A fun discussion on Christmas Day. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, I really hope you guys enjoyed JoJomas this year, and I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday. So have a good day, guys. Enjoy your Christmas, and thank you all for watching JoJomas this year. It was a lot of fun to make, and I really hope it was a lot of fun to watch. All right, guys, thank you all very much. We will get on to regular content soon, chapter reviews, analysis videos, and all that good stuff. But for now, thank you all for watching JoJomas. I really appreciate it. Double peace!